Hey everybody, Bandicoot Commando here, and welcome back to Marvel Rivals. Last time, I read, oh yeah, here it is, Rocket Raccoon's second lore story, The Deepest Bond. Basically, it went over how Rocket had an idea, a plan on how to get rid of Null, and it would require using the Nega Bands, or at least portable versions of Nega Bands that Captain Marvel would wear, because if you use them, they'll take you to the negative zone. And because the negative zone is the opposite, is basically a dimension of oppositeness, on Clintar it would be bright and light. So, with that, Null should most likely die from the light. But while he was fixing up the Nega bands, Rocket was ambushed and severely injured by a symbiote dragon, but Scarlet Witch, she was able to drive it off, but even with her healing magic, it wouldn't be enough because Rocket was just in critical condition. But the symbiote that had bonded with him earlier in Jeff's second lore story came back to him and was able to heal him to some extent. Afterwards, Rocket's explaining everything to Reed about what happened, and Reed reveals that he has a device that can scan people who have been in contact with symbiotes, and it can give you a full list of basically the family tree, as he calls it, of who on that symbiote and who they have bonded with. And it turns out that that symbiote had bonded with Lila, Rocket's otter friend and love interest, and he's hoping he could probably find her, because that means at one point she was on Clintar and she was able to escape somehow. But who knows? Who knows? So today, I got all the gallery images here for the Abyss Awakens. So, let's get to it. So here we are, the Abyss Awakens. Flarkin Clintar. There he is, the King in Black, on his throne. What's up, Shuri? It's your old pal Rocket with a mission report. Just like you asked for back when you first drafted the Guardians of the Galaxy to do your intergalactic dirty work. So what's been happening since our last update? A whole hell of a lot. Vampires, androids. Oh, I got a pet werewolf. But I'm guessing you probably just want to know the whole Clintar situation, right? Okay, buckle up, Princess. You already know that our initial recon mission to Clintar was a mess. A hot, sticky, protoplasmic mess, actually. Since that whole Kurtakan planet is made entirely of amorphous alien symbiotes. Their creator, some creepy self-proclaimed King in Black named Null, was being held prisoner inside the planet's core by his own disgusting offspring. From what we could piece together, he'd been in there for millennia, but that lousy time stream entanglement woke him up from his long nap and got him in the mood to start causing chaos again. The bad kind of chaos, where an elder god spreads his own special blend of oblivion across the known universe. Fortunately, for every living being in this reality, Null was still too weak to bust out of his weird, slimy jail. But that didn't stop him from trying to expand his influence by corrupting other gods in hopes of feasting on their divine codex to boost his own strength. When he managed to turn your fancy panther god Bast to the dark side, that's when you realized something was wrong and called us in to take a closer look. And it's a good thing you did. Sure, we immediately loused things up by crashing our ship, the Milano, into Clintar and getting it stuck in the living goo that makes up the planet's surface. That's on us. But we turned things around pretty quick. After throwing down with Venom, who just happened to be hanging around Clintar too, we managed to sniff out Null's slimy scheme. We found this gigantic heart stash inside the Agents of the Cosmos complex, and Venom recognized it right away. It was the Divine Codex ripped straight out of that dead celestial carcass floating above Clintar's orbit. And get this, the whole thing was almost totally warped into Null's own nasty essence. No way were we letting that happen, so we decided to give him a last meal he'd never forget. With your Wakandan tech and my unsurpassed genius, we managed to turn the Celestial's Codex into a living bomb and shoved it straight down Null's bony throat. Game over, right? Wrong. Apparently, Null survived the resulting explosion and played us all for fools. While we turned our focus on saving New York and Krakoa, Null went back into hiding, waiting patiently for the next source of cosmic power he could latch onto and use to finally break himself free. And if the Milano's scanners are correct, and the Phoenix really has shown up in the skies above Clintar, I've got a feeling it won't be long before we see that freak's pasty face again. I guess that means we're heading back to that nightmare of a planet, whether we like it or not. Too bad. I just washed my blasted fur. Larking Clintar. Page 2. A light in the darkness. The menu screen, basically. Shuri's private log entry MR 3.1-0725 recording. My faith has been restored. Not long ago, I had reason to believe that Wakanda's most revered deity, the panther goddess Bast, had forsaken our empire, turning against our people to align herself with dark forces. Just a sec, hang on, I gotta scratch. Okay, my suspicions were proven correct when the Guardians of the Galaxy located the source of her corruption on a planet called Clintar. The primordial being, Null, had awoken and was tainting gods from across the cosmos with the intent of using their power to help him escape from imprisonment within the heart of that distant world. When the Guardians and their fellow heroes thwarted Null's attempt to escape from confinement, I believed that Null's control of Bast would fade, but I was mistaken. Null survived the encounter, and the stain of his darkness still remained within my goddess. But the universe works in mysterious ways, and sometimes, even if your own gods cannot answer your prayers, there are still others listening who will. While Null returned to cower in his cell, Bast retreated to the divine space, a plane of reality that only those with vast cosmic power can traverse. It was not long before another entity arrived in that realm, a force of creation known as the Phoenix. Along with its human host, the Phoenix was soaring through the cosmos when it felt the icy chill of Null's infinite oblivion on the horizon. She had planned to use the divine space as a shortcut to Clintar, but when she encountered Bast and the other gods who had been defiled by Null, she used her cosmic flames to purge them of the poison within. Bast was finally free from Null's grip, and it was time for her to come home. How do I know this? Because Bast told me the tale herself. And unlike the last time, she whispered in my mind. Her words no longer dripped with pain, fear, or hatred. She was once again the proud and noble Bast who had guided my brother and I as we built our intergalactic empire. And along with her renewed independence came a ferocity I had only heard in her voice at times when Wakanda was at war. The panther was ready to hunt, and Null was her prey. When Bast realized that her avatar, my brother, King T'Challa, the Black Panther, was not currently in our reality due to a conflict that had drawn him across time and space, she tasked me with gathering warriors to return to Clintar and end Null's reign once and for all. But with so many of our allies off fighting other battles, my options were limited. Luckily, I had one soldier by my side, eager to join the fight, a refugee from another war who had been sent here from the clutches of a vampiric prison to finish his recovery. I knew it would take more than a single sword to end Null, but it was a start, and in a battle like this, every blade counts. Recording ended. So, basically Shuri working on gathering various heroes to take up the fight, Blade obviously being one of them. The Phoenix Reborn? My name is Jean Grey. Up until moments ago, I was the sole host of the cosmic entity called the Phoenix Force. But if I've learned anything about my fiery friend, it's that you never know when she will be born again into something new. For the Phoenix, life, death, and rebirth are simply a part of existence, and today I have experienced that cycle in full, in ways I have never imagined before. When I first came here to Clintar, I'd hoped to focus the fury of the Phoenix on the dark god Null, burning his sprawling shadow out of existence once and for all, with our cosmic flames. But instead of a king, the planet was under the rule of his new Queen in Black, the Asgardian goddess of death, Hela. As usual, I'm sure she saw an opportunity to expand her dominion and couldn't resist the temptation. When I confronted her, a battle erupted in the skies over Clintar, and I quickly realized how much Hela's unholy union with Null had boosted her already formidable powers. It wasn't long before I found myself unexpectedly overwhelmed by death and darkness. It was too much for even the Phoenix to bear, so she went into protective mode, sheltering herself inside of an egg until the danger passed. But this was no normal egg. The Phoenix egg radiated with such intense heat that it began to drive away the fire-fearing symbiotes that formed the surface of this living planet. Some of my fellow heroes, including the Scarlet Witch and Venom, were gravely concerned that the massive shift in biomass away from the Phoenix egg would create a rift in the surface of Clintar, allowing Null to escape from his prison within. They believed the safest option would to be to remove the Phoenix egg from Clintar altogether. I didn't share that belief. Instead, I gathered allies who would help me harness the chronal energy from the Celestial Codex to expedite the hatching process. If we can encourage the Phoenix to emerge from her protective shell sooner, my power would be restored in full, and our assault on Null could once again resume. Both sides had the best of intentions, but you know what they say about that. Ultimately, our conflicting efforts resulted in the Phoenix egg prematurely cracking, scattering shards of the Phoenix Force across the surface of Clintar. Some of those shards bonded with other heroes on the scene, blessing them with a fraction of the Phoenix's power. At the end of it all, I'm still Jean Grey, and I'm still the Phoenix, but now so are one of my dearest friends, one of my mortal enemies, a demon queen, 2 kings, one of space and one of the seas, a lethal spy, and the latest in a long line of immortal warriors. And while I've always been a team player, I'm not convinced that power like this belongs in the hands of so many people with such different agendas. But the Phoenix has always chosen her host for a reason. So all I can do is have faith that she knows what she's doing. So, I see. I know who she's referring to. Her mortal enemy is referring to Emma Frost because Jean and Emma, while they are teammates and allies from time to time, they don't exactly get along well, and Well, you can blame a certain incident with Scott Summers. Although it wasn't entirely his fault, though. Till death do us part. Eddie. Eddie. Edward Brock! Wake up at once! What on Clintar is happening? I'm not sure. Hela grabbed us by the throat, and the next thing I know, here I am, separated from you, my symbiote, and locked away in some sort of nasty dungeon. But we are Venom! We should not be confined to cages. We must escape. Escape? Oh no, I almost forgot. He actually escaped. Who? Null! Your your lousy king in black. When the Phoenix egg shattered, the energy it gave seared a hole straight through the surface of Clintar, just like Wanda and I warned those idiot heroes it would. We knew it. Those fools should have listened to us, and to the Scarlet Witch. She deserves attention. Her power is so delicious. Calm down. Now's not the time. Null's on the loose, and he's got his sword, all black, back in his hands. He's ready to begin another campaign of cosmic conquest. Ooh, that rolls off the tongue. This isn't a joke, and you know it. You're a symbiote, which means you're even more aware than I am how much of a threat your creator is to every living creature in this reality. Which is exactly why we tried to stop him, Eddie. I remember now. Yeah, and it was a bad call. We never should have tried to take Null on alone. Then perhaps it's a good thing we never had the chance. Really? You think it's a good thing that Hela got to us first and ripped us apart? She may have removed us from each other's physical presence, but she can never break the bond we share. Even though we may be in separate cells, we are never truly alone. You're more right about that than you realize. I think some of your cousins just showed up in here with me, and they look like they're pretty hungry. Fend them off with your meaty human fist, Eddie. I will try to speak to them through our hive mind to let them know that we are on their side. Thanks, but try to talk fast, okay? I want my meaty fist off the menu ASAP. They claim they did not come to hurt you, Eddie, but rather they were running from something they feared would hurt them. Really? Clintar is their homeworld. What could possibly be here that the symbiotes are afraid of? Other than Null, I mean. Whatever it was, they said it burned with the fury of a million stars being born. Wait, do you think it could be a fragment of that Phoenix egg? Perhaps. Then we need to get out of here right now, buddy. I have never agreed with you more, Eddie. So we can find that shard before anyone else does. I take that back. And we know through the second lore story on how that turned out. A dire warning. The Doctor Doom's bridge online transmitting across all frequencies / realities. Victor, it's Reed. I don't know if this message will reach you, and honestly, even if it does, I'm not sure you'll listen. After all, in the majority of realities, you view me as your arch nemesis. That's why I'm going to keep what I have to say short and simple. You need to stop. As a fellow scientist, I understand full well how easily things can get out of hand. 1 minute, you're searching for answers about the mysteries of creation. The next, you're setting off a chain reaction that collapses countless timelines onto each other, rewriting the foundations of reality itself. We all make mistakes, but it's up to men like us, with the mental capacity to understand the effects of our actions on a universal scale, to know when we've gone too far. And this time, Victor, you've gone too far. I don't blame you for the time stream entanglement. While I know it was your insatiable curiosity that caused the initial spark, I'm well aware there were other forces at play that sent things cascading beyond your control. Once the damage to space-time is repaired and reality is restored to its original state, I'm sure you can be forgiven someday. But it's your more recent actions that have left me confounded. The Victor Von Doom I know would have done anything to set the universe right once more, even if it was ultimately to prove his superior intellect and bask in the glory of being the savior of all that is. But instead, both you and your future self have wasted your natural talents playing games, manipulating Dracula into creating a vampire nation, striking a deal with Krakoa to siphon chronal energy, and now sending dueling legions of Doombots to Clintar to recover samples of powerful cosmic substances, a celestial codex, and the Phoenix Force itself, while the rest of us fight for our lives against an ancient god of darkness. It's madness, Victor, and you know it. True, there have been times when your goals have vaguely aligned with our own. For instance, having these Doombots eliminate overtly aggressive symbiotes benefits us all, to a point. Sadly, their programming contains no language about helping us in our efforts to save this universe. In fact, upon analysis, I discovered that the warring android factions were recently ordered not to hurt each other, yet there's nothing stopping them from hurting us. I added a few lines of code to change that. I hope you don't mind. I don't expect you to join this fight, Victor. That's never been your style. But I warn you now. If you continue to stand in our way as we try to clean up this mess that you've made, I will personally make sure that you, and every version of you, and every reality there is, come to regret that decision. If I were you, this is one theory I wouldn't risk putting to the test. Transmission ended. You know how serious it is when Reed can make threats like that. So, current present-day Doom is trying to harness the Phoenix Force, while Doom 2099 is trying to harness the power of the Celestial Codex. But for what? Who knows? On the blade's edge. Feels good to be back in action. Damn good. When Dracula took me prisoner in New York, your boy Blade had the life drained out of him in ways that no bloodsuckers ever imagined before. That was some real next-level mystical bleep. Even after my friends set me free, took me a hell of a lot longer than I would have liked to recover. I ended up sleeping off my wounds in space Wakanda for what felt like months. 3 months to be precise. That was a new one for old Eric Brooks, and I've been through a lot. Luckily for me, they delivered me to Princess Shuri, who did everything in her power to get me back on my feet again. Still, I was so far gone that I didn't even wake up when Ultron and his robot army attacked the biggest party of the year. Luckily, Shuri was smart enough not to leave me behind snoozing before everyone raced off to the next big shindig. When she had to take off for an alien planet, she came to me looking for help, and you best believe I jumped at the chance. I've been sitting on the sidelines for way too long, armed with Dracula's sword, because, let's face it, that old bleep ain't using it no more. I got a first-class ticket across the galaxy to the planet Clintar. Shuri gotten a hot tip from her own personal panther goddess that some ancient creep named Null was trapped inside the planet's core and was itching to bust free. It was up to me, and anyone else who was willing to join the fight, to stop him. Sounded easy, but when I showed up, it wasn't Null running the show. It was this bleep, Hela, the Queen of the Dead. Good thing I wasn't dancing with her alone for too long. I found a new ally in the Phoenix. If anyone can help me burn Hela to a crisp, it was her. Things didn't go so smooth at first, and my girl Jean ended up getting her Phoenix force scattered all across Clintar. But what seemed like a major setback may have actually been a blessing in disguise. I was able to absorb some of the Phoenix force into the Sword of Dracula, giving my weapon a cosmic power upgrade. But even with all that, it still wasn't enough to take down Hela. Out of options, I waited for her to get close and sank my teeth right into her neck. Got a few mouthfuls of blood along with a health dose of Null's darkness running through her. After that, there was nothing Hela could throw at me that I couldn't take. With my boosted powers, I sure as hell wasn't about to get taken down by a flock of crows, and that old hag knew it. She ran like a bat out of hell, and now we've got a clear path to take our battle to the man himself. So watch out, Null. We're coming for you. Your boy ain't stupid. I know Hela ain't done yet. Something tells me she ain't gonna be wasting her time sleeping off her wounds. So I better keep my head on swivel and my sword in hand. Divine balance. Phoenix's fiery order and the primal pandemonium of chaos magic were elemental forces as ancient as the cosmos itself. The two had been in direct opposition with each other on so many occasions that the women who wielded them, Jean Grey and the Scarlet Witch, had rarely stopped to consider just how complementary they actually were. So when Jean and Wanda finally found a way to bring their powers together in perfect unison on the field of battle, it resulted in a cycle of harmonious strength unlike any either of them had experienced before. A universal yin and yang. In that moment, Clintar was bathed in the glorious glow of chaos and creation, and an overwhelmed Null was brought to his knees at last. It was truly a wonder to behold. But sadly, moments as perfect as that never last. For a split second, Null was tempted to forsake the darkness and succumb to the blinding radiance. However, his weapon of choice, the sentient sword known as All Black, was not willing to surrender quite so easily. The Necro Sword found its way back into Null's grip, forcing its master to remember their connection and their mission, to spread their oblivion across all that is. It wasn't long before Null rose once more, his determination renewed, and as the living embodiment of the eternal void, the King in Black could see what the others could not. The dim spots where the cosmic Taiji's brilliance failed to shine at its fullest. Null soon recalled how his new queen, Hela, had succeeded in damaging the Phoenix Force, leaving it fractured and incomplete. Knowing it must be the only weak point in the near-perfect union, he chose to strike at Jean Grey directly, and when he did, All Black severed the divine bond between Jean's Phoenix Force and Wanda's chaos magic. The two warriors fell from the skies above Clintar, like angels plummeting from the heavens, and what awaited them below was a hell unlike any other. Null had regained his strength in his conviction, swiftly defeating all challengers who dared to confront him, even those who still held fragments of the Phoenix Force to enhance their abilities. Seconds before, the skies of Clintar had been filled with hope and light, yet now there was nothing left but darkness and despair. Before she joined this fight, the Scarlet Witch had spent what seemed like an eternity as the sorceress supreme of her own dimension, protecting it from the machinations of gods and monsters. But Null was much stronger than any of the old ones who had ever tried to rip her reality asunder. As she laid helpless on Clintar's symbiotic soil, watching as the King in Black swung his blade to strike down yet another noble champion, Wanda Maximoff managed to utter one last spell of protection, not for herself, but for the only hero left who might stand a chance against his creator. I'm going to assume that person is Venom. Indeed, I'm right. Kings in Black. I was born at the dawn of time. No, oh, this must be, I feel like this is all black. I was born at the dawn of time. Null created me from his own shadow and forged me within the head of a slain celestial. I was designed to be his perfect weapon. My edges honed to slice the stars from the sky and banish the bright from existence. I have been known by many names over the eons: the Necrosword, the Godslayer, Annihilable, all black. But what the others did call me did not matter, as long as Null called me his. I was more than just a weapon, so much more. I was the first symbiote, the progenitor of Null's innumerable offspring. Today, one of those children has decided to return home and raise arms against its creators, and I do not know whether to be furious or proud. While Null may have been my creator, he has not been the only one to wield me. During his long imprisonment within the heart of Clintar, I formed bonds with others, and during that time, I learned what it meant to be revered, cherished, venerated. Null had treated me like a servant, created only to do his bidding. Another put me on the pedestal of godhood in my own right. Even so, I spent countless years longing to be back in Null's grip once again, for I knew he was the only one capable of harnessing my full potential, or at least so he had made me believe. But this child, this Venom, came to Clintar to face his ancestors and end our reign. And he has a weapon of his own, a sword steeped in ancient magic, enhanced by the fire of the Phoenix. If there were any blade in this universe capable of matching me in battle, this would be it. Though I knew he had just claimed this sword from one of his fallen allies, he somehow wields it as deftly as Null wields me, as if it had been in his hands for all eternity. As he swings the massive sword in my direction, I cannot help but recoil from the trail of cosmic flame it leaves in its wake. It is a primal fear that I have carried with me since I was crafted in the blistering fires of the Celestial Forge, a fear that I passed down to all of those I spawned. But this child, this Venom, does not fear the fire, and from the look in his eyes, I begin to wonder if he fears anything. And that's when it became clear. This symbiote has risen above its station, fueled by the love shared with its host. It has transcended its god and ancestor by achieving a perfect bond with its human host, the kind of true symbiosis I have always longed for but have never been offered, for the Abyss does not offer love. Even though it is likely Null will win this battle due to the sheer level of dark power he possesses, I cannot help but wonder, who is the true King in Black here? And more importantly, will the hands that worshipped me ever hold me again? It sounds like all black might betray Null. Ooh. The Phoenix End Song. This is exactly what Rocket was talking about. Even with the flames of the Phoenix igniting our blade, Null was far too strong, Venom said. We failed. Maybe you didn't take out the target, Rocket replied, but you did manage to distract that freak long enough for me to whip up a new plan, and this one's a doozy. Whatever you got in mind, Rocket, Jean Grey said. I'm on board. Yeah? Rocket chuckled nervously. You might change your mind when you find out what your part in the plan is, Red. See, the way I figured, your pal, the Phoenix, is good at two things. One of them is being reborn, which means the other is dying, Jean said solemnly. Bingo, Rocket replied. Death and rebirth. It's kind of your whole shtick. And from what all the stories I've heard, you've been stabbed more times than I've been pruning Groot. Anyway, if I'm getting the gist, when the Phoenix host dies, they get reborn in some sorta extra dimensional nexus made of pure cosmic light, right? The white hot room, Jean said. If Null were to be trapped in such a place... Oh, if Null were to be trapped in such a place, Venom said, its pure radiance would eradicate his darkness, wiping away his stain from existence for good. Perhaps that's true, Jean said, but there's no way to get Null into the white hot room. I would never risk transferring even a fraction of the Phoenix Force to him. He would become indefinitely more powerful. We'd never be able to end his reign. You're right, Rocket said, lowering his head. That's why you gotta die instead. If I'm gonna sacrifice myself again, Jean said, I need to know if it's for the right reasons. What makes you think I could take Null down with me? A while back, my ship crashed into Clintar and got stuck in the planet's symbiotic surface, Rocket said. At first, I didn't know how to get it out, but then I built a gizmo that worked on the same principle as Captain Marvel's old nega bands. It swapped the ship's physical location with a celestial husk in orbit over Clintar, and boom! Problem solved. Impressive, Jean said, but how does this help us against Null? Rocket rifled through a pouch of his uniform, pulled out a pair of circuit boards. If you rush in, ready to impale yourself on that nasty sword of his, Rocket said, Null won't even notice you're wearing a portable version of that tech. As he revels in his victory, Venom will sneak in and slip one onto him, too. Then, once you're reborn in the white hot room, I can activate the sequence and switcheroo! Null gets annihilated by the light, while you're returned back to us, safe and sound. In theory, that at least. I can't guarantee the tech will work across dimensional planes, but everything else we've tried has already failed. This might be our last chance. Then it's one we have to take, Jean agreed, grabbing Rocket's circuit board and running towards the King in Black. I came here to stop Null, and I plan to see it through, no matter the cost. Well, she's clearly dropping the band, so clearly it didn't really work, sadly. Possibly, but we have this. Nowhere left to run. This city, the 8th city, was once a prison, but it has since become a place of refuge for those who have been cast out of heaven. That's what drew me here in the first place. I had hoped to make amends for my sins, and to help others do the same. It is why the people chose me to lead them, and gave me the name Daizang. Daizang, a name passed down from ancient Eastern legend, after the Buddhist Fada, who willingly entered hell, leading lost souls out of suffering. vowing not to leave until every last soul was freed, even if it meant being the very last to walk out of hell himself. But now, despite my efforts to protect this realm, hell has arrived on our doorstep. She came to the gates of my city under the cover of the night, pleading for sanctuary. Her horn crown intimidated my soldiers, but not me. I've seen my share of devils in my day, and this one I recognized immediately. She was Hela, the Asgardian as the Queen of the Dead. Just having her here posed a grave threat to the safety of my people. But as I said, this is a place of refuge, and she was clearly running from something. Once she was secured inside of a cell, and a mystic seal was in place to keep her from escaping. I asked Hela to tell me what she was hiding from. After a long pause, she finally whispered a single word. Null. Days passed before Hela spoke again, but then something changed within her. It wasn't as if she could sense that I didn't plan to take advantage of her. It wasn't long before she asked my guards to summon me, so that she could tell me her tale. I listened silently as Hela recounted her journey, how she had traveled to a distant planet to seize an ancient power, how she had forged an unholy alliance with a dark god, granting her abilities far beyond her wildest dreams, how she had almost triumphed before a half-human warrior vanquished her with his burning blade, and how, in fear of her dark god's retribution, she had decided to flee from her failure and seek asylum as far away as possible. But now she could feel her new powers fading, which meant that Null's reign had been brought to an end. She seemed relieved to be back to her old self again, and implored me to set her free. I thanked Hela for her honesty, but I told her that she would have to remain in her cell until I knew she could be trusted. Even though her powers had waned upon Null's demise, she was still a traitor to the Chronoverse. Here in the 8th City, we believe in second chances, but we also believed they had to be earned. As I walked away, I could feel Hela's icy glare following me. I can hear her black heart beating with rage. I turned back and informed her that being confined to her cell might be a blessing in disguise. After all, she had many sins to atone for, and while I would not be the one to judge her guilt, I had a feeling her own kin would come to deliver justice soon enough. Alright, that is it. So, this, I'm not too sure. I hate how this thing works. I'm not too sure if this really is Dai Zhang, but looking at it carefully, I have this strange feeling because he's got little horns on his head, or at least what's meant to be little horns. I don't know if it's just the art style, but I have this strange feeling Dai Zhang is actually not. I have to look it up. I think I might. Who is Dai Zhang? Okay, yes, I know. It's telling me Dai Zhang is basically, yeah, a Buddha chef. Just we've already went over that, but hold on, I have to put in Marvel. Beijing? No, that can't be right. Hmm. Hold on. I want to figure this out. Hmm. Hmm. I'm just reading. Well, who knows? People say he's Daredevil because of the little horns. The idea is that Zhang is possessing Daredevil to use as a host. But with him also mentioning that her own kin would come to deliver justice, that means Asgardians would come for Hela. This might also link to another character that was in the data mine, but I'll have to share more on that later. But for now, that is it. That is Season 3, The Abyss Awakens. Quite an interesting storyline here, but I'm pretty sure things will all make sense once we get to Season 4. That will do for this episode of Marvel Rivals. So, yeah, I got nothing left to show. So, well, there's going to be a new game mode. I mean, by the time I post this, the new game mode will already be out and about. I'll see if I can get gameplay of that just to show it off. I don't know if this new game mode is going to be, like, permanent, or if it's just going to be part of an event. But, who knows? I may or may not do it. It all depends. If it's part in an event, then there's no worth in doing it, unless it's going to be a permanent game mode. But I will just see you guys next time in Season 4, and that will not be until... hang on. Season 4 will start... I had this image that I shared with a friend about it. Should be here somewhere. Warmer. Ah, here it is. Yeah, it won't be... Season 4 will start by September 12th. And as I record this, yeah, I got another few weeks to go. So... when's the new game mode and the new map? Yeah, this new game mode, it sounds like it's just, yeah, it sounds like it's just gonna be an event sort of thing, so no need to show it off. So, I'll see you guys on September 12th. Well, more like I'll see you when Season 4 starts. We'll do the showcase of what it'll have to offer, and then whoever gets added in. As for the Battle Pass, this is just where I am. I've bought the luxury, so I'm slowly buying the things as I go, but I'll have it done before it's all over. So, that is it, and I will see you guys next time.